Well, hello, boys and girls, and welcome to a special edition of Movie Goodness here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Warner Brothers, New Line Cinema, DC Studios superhero sequel, Shazam Fury of the Gods, now playing in a theater near you. How are we doing out there, everybody? Oh, yeah. Shazam Fury of the Gods. I was slick style bucked up for this movie. I was kind of excited for this movie because I wanted to see where we were going with Shazam Fury of the Gods. Uh as I said before, this is the sequel to Shazam from 2019, I think it was. And Shazam, out of the whole DCEU, is probably the most universally liked of the films. I don't think too many people hated on Shazam. It was what it was. It wasn't groundbreaking in any sense of the word. It was just a all right movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't really have many problems with it. I liked Zachary Levi as the character of Shazam, even though initially when he was announced as Shazam, there was a little pushback, because I couldn't really envision him as Shazam, at least going by the comic book adaptation of that character. I always pictured Shazam as this hulking guy, that hulking, uh, just a big guy, a big muscular guy with the brain of a teenage boy. And when I look at Zachary Levi's this skinny, like normal guy, from Chuck and other TV shows and movies that I've seen him in. He's just a basic guy. No definition whatsoever. But he got in the gym and he looked pretty good as the character. And I've never doubted his acting per se. I was excited as far as his take on the character because the childish nature of Shazam, I think he fit that, and he did. He fit it perfectly in the Shazam from 2019, and that movie actually uh, did a good job, really good job of introducing this character to a lot of people who don't know this character. You probably know this character by the name of Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is the name of Shazam, but you know, Marvel. So they couldn't use that name due to the fact there's already a Captain Marvel in this universe. It's kind of funny because in 2019, Shazam came out and Captain Marvel from Marvel, of course, came out in that same year. And I always thought that was funny that two Captain Marvels came out in the same year. And here we are in 2023, and it's happening again. We have Shazam, Fury of the Gods, that just came out, and we have The Marvels, which features Captain Marvel, coming out later this year. And I guess they're on the same page. They have to come out the same year. I don't know. Maybe it's contractually obligated or something. But whatever the case may be, I thought it was a good film. So I was excited to see if add to the lore or add more stakes to this upcoming sequel. And here we are. Uh Shazam Fury of the Gods is directed once again by David F. Sandberg, who directed the first film. It stars Zachary Levi, Archer Angel, Jack Dylan Grazer, Rachel Zegler, Adam Brody, Russ Butler, Megan Good, Lucy Liu, German Hinsu, and Helen Mirren. And this film is based, takes place 2 years after the events of the first film. Um, Billy Batson, or Shazam, and his foster siblings fight the daughters of Atlas. And overall, let's jump right into this review here. And this is spoilers. I'm gonna touch in on some spoilers because, quite frankly, I can't give an honest assessment without touching in on some elements of the film that you may consider a spoiler or two. So you've been warned. There are spoilers within this review. I'm not going to spoil the whole movie, but some of the points I want to touch in on will involve spoilers. So there's your warning in case you haven't seen Shazam Fury of the Gods and you don't want to be spoiled. Stop this show right now, pause it, download it, come back to it after you have checked out the film. So, going right in. My overall thoughts. I felt this film is better than the original, but not by much. There are higher stakes in this film, as opposed to the previous film. Uh, there was more danger, more peril. I felt that the world was expanded more than just Philadelphia, even though the film does take place primarily in Philadelphia. I felt that the world was in danger, as opposed to the previous film where I felt it really Philadelphia wasn't even in danger. It was more of Billy Batson and his family. This felt like the world was going to end if Shazam and his family didn't come together and beat this foe, who are the daughters of Atlas, Hespera, Calypso, and Athena. And as far as the villains are concerned, did not like the villains. Did not like the daughters of Atlas. And this was a waste. I felt that these three actresses in these roles were wasted because all three actresses are awesome in their own way. Helen Mirren is amazing. She has a career that spans decades and being excellent in pretty much everything that she's in. And that's not to say that she was bad. Actually, all three of these actresses weren't bad in this movie. They just felt wasted. Worst of all was Lucy Liu as Calypso. And it wasn't her whole performance, it was the performance at the end. And I say performance, but she basically rode a dragon. She was Khaleesi from Game of Thrones. She was just on the back of a dragon for the last 15 minutes of the movie. It was like, what? Didn't say anything, nothing. She was just there. And it was pointless to me. It was really pointless. And it just took me out of it. That took me out of that final battle. And I could not get on board with it. And I honestly did not get back into it. After that, I was kind of out of it because it wasn't it set up this film set up the stakes of this movie with the seed from the tree of life and taking over the planet and everything and all that was great. So the stakes were high, the stakes were dire, and you have this final battle with this dragon, and that was all cool with Shazam and all that was all cool, but then they have to show you shots of Lucy Liu on back of this on this dragon, and it was just so wooden. No pun intended, because the dragon was made out of wood, and it was like I think her being on top of it was more wooden than the actual wooden dragon that she was riding. I just could not get into it. And it hurts. It hurts bad because the scene was great. The special effects was awesome. The fight, the battle, all that was great. All they had to do was not have her on back of the dragon, and I was good. I just could not rock with her being on that dragon. And in other worlds, that would excite me. That would be something that I'm like, oh man, this is cool because I've seen it. I guess that's probably the problem. I've seen this in Game of Thrones. I've seen this in the House of the Dragon. I've seen this, so I didn't feel a threat. Anywho's, um, my other big flaw before I get to the positives, because I have positives and I'm doing it out of order. Normally I do the positives first, then the negatives, but it's been weighing on my mind so much I got to get it out first. My other negative, and it hurts me to my heart to say this, is Zachary Levi. And just like Lucy Liu, Helen Mirren, and Rachel Zegler. I did not hate the performances from those three actors. I didn't hate the performance from Zachary Levi. The problem I had was Zachary Levi's interpretation of Shazam here was less mature than Archer Angel's portrayal of Billy Batson. It seemed like Billy Batson was more mature than Shazam, and it should have been the other way around. And it didn't. I just could not get into it. I could not. It was just silly for us to see scenes with Billy Batson, and he's more stern. He's more of a leader than Zachary Levi was. And I understand that's how it was written. I know where they were going with it, but it was just the subtle things that Zachary Levi was doing in this role that kind of like, nah, that's a betrayal of the character. It was a true betrayal. He was just too kitty. Because at this, the movie tells us that Billy Batson is 18 years old. He just turned it, or he's about to turn 18 in a couple of weeks, something like that. And he's more mature. He's thinking more like a young man in as opposed to a kid, you know? So when he goes into Shazam mode, now I see Zachary Levi and is all gee shucks, goofy and can't figure things out. It just didn't fit. It didn't feel like the same character. They felt like two different characters. Whereas in the first Shazam, they felt like the same character. Billy Batson and Shazam felt like the same character. That's why I was on board with it. Here, I didn't get it. I didn't get that. And that's not a knock on Zachary Levi as if his performance was bad. It just didn't match Archer Angel's performance as Billy Batson. And you need that to work. If that doesn't work, the movie falls apart. And so there were points here where it fell apart. It wasn't like that the whole film, because honestly, they didn't go back and forth between Billy Batson and Shazam as often as they did in the previous film from 2019. This was more Shazam than Billy Batson. I would say 75-25, if anything. We barely saw Archer Angel in this movie. And I'm pretty sure that's the way they planned it out and everything, which I think, and I don't have any inside intel to this, but I think the reason they did this is because Archer Angel at this point, he looks like Shazam. He's big. It looked like he's been in a gym. He could play Shazam. Let's not forget he's 18. At least Billy Batson is in the film. Archer Angel is actually 20. And he's 20 years old in real life. So he can actually play this character. And to be honest with you, there's a little side note. While I was sitting there watching the film and I'm looking at Archer Angel and his size and his look, I'm like, man, he could actually play Clark Kent. He could actually be Superman. If they wanted to go that route and kind of, you know, swerve the audience a little bit, but I don't think they'll do that. But he has that look, because he grew into that look. Or he can play Shazam, who he naturally is, because he has aged out of the Billy Batson role. And so we'll see how that goes. That's pretty much my negatives. At least my big negatives. Let's move on to the positives. Let's uplift y'all a little bit, because it's coming off that I hated this movie, but I didn't. My positives here. Biggest one. Let's start with the biggest one. Jack Dylan Grazer as Freddie Freeman stole the movie. This was his movie. I absolutely loved his character. Loved it so much that it just outshined every other performance here. Even Shazam, we saw feats of strength from Freddie in this movie when Calypso, we saw how easily Calypso was manipulating people, because Calypso has this power to whisper in your ear and make you do whatever. Um, when she did it to Freddie, Freddie fought it. Freddie fought it. He actually beat it because he was supposed to give up the name of who is Shazam, and she whispered in his ear, and he fought that tooth and nail, and he never did give the name. And I was like, oh man, Freddy is a beast. And then that scene with the dragon, he fought against that when the dragon was manipulating Athena, and he was fighting to get to Athena, and he fought that too. And I'm like, man, this dude is a beast. He is a beast. He is killing this movie. We find him in this film. We left at the end of the last film where Shazam came and ate lunch with him in the school cafeteria rather, and Superman showed up, and so you're left in that movie at the end of that movie thinking that, all right, now he's the most popular kid in school. Now, the superheroes came and ate lunch with him. No, he's still getting bullied. He's still getting pushed around and all this here at school. So, uh, we meet the new girl, Anne, who we find out later is Athena, who is portrayed by Rachel Zegler. And this was the best part of the movie for me. This was the storyline throughout this movie that I was just completely in with following. And it was Freddie Freeman falling in love with her, the first girl that ever spoke to him, that gave him a time of day, and but Athena had started off as just trying to get information from him to help out her sisters, and she ended up falling in love with him. She's impressed by him, all the standing up to the bullies and all this here, and she was smitten by all this, and they found the relationship there, and I was really into it. And Jack Dylan Grazer and Rachel Zegler did an amazing job playing off of each other. I thought this was the best part of the film. Um, the special effects were great. I absolutely loved the special effects in this film. I thought it was probably some of the best we've seen in DC. Definitely better than the first film, special effects wise. Because there was a lot going on here. It could have turned into a cartoon with all the special effects going on, but I think David F. Sandberg did a great job of filming this movie. It looked gorgeous. I liked how the rest of the family had storylines. Each member or each of the foster brothers and sisters had a separate storyline going on. Not so much to make it overwhelm the film, but they had other things going on, and you each one got their moment of shine. Not so not as much as Freddie, because it seemed like Freddie was the main character in this movie, to be honest with you. But everybody else did have their little moment of shine. Darla, the little girl, she had her moment with the unicorns, and able to wield the unicorns. And uh, Pedro had his moment when he came out as gay. And that was a funny little scene because he finally admitted that he was gay, and everybody just turned to him like, "Yeah, we know." It's everybody. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we know. We all know. And he was like, "Oh," because he thought he was hiding it from everybody. He thought, it thought that everybody would probably freak out with him coming out, but everybody was like, "Yeah, dude, we know." And I thought that was cute. I love that. I love that little scene. Um, the older sister Mary, she like ready to move on, because she's an adult. She's the oldest out of them all, so she's ready to kind of move on, live her life. But Billy wants to keep everybody together, and because he never had a family, you know, none of them. These are all foster kids, so he wants to keep everybody together and do everything together, and that was the fight, internally with them. because everybody wanted to independently do their own thing. But another storyline that really touched my heart, and this is what one of the many things that saved this movie from being bad. Uh, I loved the scene between Billy Batson and Rosa. It was set up throughout the film that everybody calls her mom. You know, all the foster kids calls her mom, but Billy doesn't. Billy calls her Rosa, because technically that's not his biological mom. You know, but he does love her. He loves her as a mom, but he just had not called her mom. And in the scene where Billy said it, basically told him that he'd probably have to sacrifice himself to save the world against these dragons and all this other stuff. And Rosa told him, like, look, let me see you. Let me see Billy. Let me see my Billy before you go. And he turned back into Billy Batson, and they embraced, they hugged, and it said their little sly goodbyes. They didn't say goodbye, but it was a nice little, you know, they both knew that this was probably going to be the last time that they saw each other. And before Billy turned back into Shazam, he told her, I love you, mom. And that just, it hit me in the gut. It hit me. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that from this movie. And it was very emotional. And both of the actors here, um, um, Archer Angel and Marta Mulans, who portrayed Rosa. Oh man, what awesome scene! Powerful, powerful, powerful. I mean, it got me to tear up. It didn't, tears didn't drop, but it got my eyes to kind of well up a little bit. I really did love that scene because it was paid off. It was earned, and you know that's all you can ask for in a film. So as I said, this film is slightly better than the original. It has higher stakes. I felt that the action was amped up a lot. There's a lot more action in this film than you would see in the previous Shazam film. Uh, some of the acting was much better. A couple of faux pas, but overall, I think the acting was great in here. Um, there are some things I wanted to get into. I decided midway throughout talking that I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna go into spoiling it for all of you because you might enjoy it. So but for me, there was a couple of cameos in here that just didn't work for me. I'll just leave it at that. When you see them, you'll know. But they didn't work for me. But overall, I think this was a good film. I see that we will probably get more Shazam in the near future, even though I don't think we're going to get a Shazam solo film no time soon. But I think we are going to get some appearances of Shazam going forward. We shall see. You know, maybe that was just something thrown there to make you happy leaving the theater. I don't know, but yeah, there are two post credit scenes, by the way. So stick around for that. Well, stick around for the first one. The second one, it was a waste of time. I mean, you can watch it. You can watch it. But it was kind of like, what was the point? I was mad. Plus, I had to use the bathroom, so that was probably the reason why I was mad. But I'm waiting around for that. I thought it was going to be more to it, and it ended up not setting up anything moving forward. There is a nice, funny cameo in here that I did enjoy. Now, this I will spoil because I was so happy to see it. I knew it immediately, and everybody around, because I kind of giggled, and everybody around me was like, "What did we miss?" Uh, there's a cameo in here with a very old Shazam from the 70s TV show. If you remember, if you're old enough to remember from, I think, the mid 70s, I don't know what year. This was before I was born, but I saw the reruns. But the old Shazam TV show, the actor who played Shazam or in that show, or played Billy Batson in that show, makes a cameo. Michael Gray, he pops up in a brief cameo on the screen, and they made it a point to put him in the red and yellow shirt. He had a red and yellow shirt on. That's how I knew who he was. And when he when he popped, he was standing there. I was like, "Oh, that's that guy." I know that's who that is, and it just instantly like boom, that's him. So that was a nice cameo of Michael Gray. Um, that was the best cameo I've seen because if you know you know, but if you don't know you just think he's a random guy. But that was special for those who know who he is. Now you know. I done told you. So yeah, that was cool. Shazam, Fury of the Gods gets a letter grade of a C plus. I think it's a slightly above average film, superhero film, should I say? Not gonna move the needle as far as innovative storytelling, but you know, we're talking DCEU here, so in the I guess you could say in the hierarchy in DCEU films, it's up there. It's up there, and that's not a high bar to clear. Obviously, it's not too many good movies in DC, but this is pretty good. This was pretty good. Yeah, I did have some problems with it, but overall, I had fun. I had fun. I didn't leave the theater mad, uh, and that's a plus because it's been many times I've left out of a theater ready to fight somebody watching DC films, uh, even some Marvel films as of late. So you know, I don't want you to think I'm being biased towards DC. there, there are some Marvel films that I left the theater like ready to punch somebody. Uh, Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm looking at you, but it was better than a few of DC films. Black Adam sticks to mind. That's probably the worst, but it's watchable and it's worth going into the theater to see. I think you should experience this in a theater. I see that the numbers aren't looking too good this first weekend. Um, I thought it would have did better than what it's doing, but I think fool me once, shame on you when it comes to DC films. So a lot of people are kind of burnt out on it, and I think overall with superhero films, people are starting to get a little burnt out. If you're not doing anything innovative or you know changing the genre, the way Captain America Winter Soldier changed it up, did it differently, and Avengers Endgame did it differently. Things like that. You gotta change it up. You just can't have punchy smash smash. You have to do some storytelling in these movies, uh, to really get audiences to invest in these characters and into these films as well as your franchises. So that's my little advice to DC, and I think they're going to do it moving forward. I have faith in James Gunn. James Gunn knows how to tell stories, so I'm excited for that, and I'm excited for the Flash coming up. Speaking of DC, uh, I don't think we're gonna have these problems with the Flash. If the Flash crash and burns, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Honestly, I might go into a darkness retreat, like what's his name? Aaron Rodgers did. Just go sit in a dark room for 3 days and don't leave. And collect my thoughts and see if humanity is worth saving. if they can't get the Flash right, because the Flash looks amazing, but we'll get to that in June. Anyways, everybody, I hope you go check out the new film Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I do recommend it. It does get a C plus. It is passing. It is good. It's a slightly above average film and worth sitting in the theater to experience. I would like to know, have you checked it out? How did you feel about it? You can email this show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look me up on Twitter at KB Radio Network and on other social media platforms. Just look up the KB Radio Network. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, about the 5 stars, the reviews, sharing this show, and subscribing to the YouTube channel if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and, as I said, YouTube. Thank you for joining me for this review of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Can't wait to speak to you again. Until then, I want you all to know that I love you, continue to love one another, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.